a conversation with Dr. Christopher Pugh, should I say, hosted by James Moore and More Books. This is going to be an awesome evening. We are going to interview him on his new book, Thrival Kit. The best teacher is always the best student. So we're in for a candid conversation tonight. We're going to kind of pick Dr. Pugh's brain and listen to how he was inspired to write this wonderful book. Dr. Pugh, how you doing this evening?
Brother Moore, I'm doing well, man. I can't complain. If just very thankful and focused. I would say that's the best way to describe what I got going on right now, man. Just being very, very appreciative of what I got going on. A lot of things on my mind, and trying not to complain, but just make sure it's on my brain. You understand what I'm saying?
Good,
a lot of challenges that I'm grateful that it hasn't conquered me. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. So well, that's what we're here to find out. That's exactly what we're here to find out. So we're going to have a good time tonight, and I'm going to get right into it. So tell me a few things about yourself. Where you from? What inspired you to write this book? I want to know your background. I want to know everything. And by all means, keep it real, tell the truth, and be brutally honest.
Got you. So I always like when people say brutally honest, I'll be fruitfully honest. Hopefully I'll be fruitful.
Okay.
I'm going to take today.
Okay.
Right? Marion Christopher Pugh, man, born in Atlanta, Georgia in the 80s. I'm an 80s baby. Crawford Lawn Hospital. Born to some very dedicated, hardworking parents. Was born into some two beautiful families. Around a lot of cousins, a lot of aunts and uncles, and I was blessed with a grandmother, man, that is literally prophetic, if that makes any sense. She just been that rock of the family, and everything she's learned and what she's been through, kind of she passed it down, and all of my cousins got it, all of my uncles and aunts got it, and everybody just living a purpose the best way they know how, based on what she showed us. You know, a lot of things. Exactly. So one of the things I will tell you, man, just knowing her gives us a hint about all the ancestors we didn't get a chance to meet. Mm-hmm. But man, they are living quite boldly through all of us right now. So I would say that's a little bit about my background, but just to let you all know, man, first started out in private school as a kid. Went to daycare, Skyline Daycare in East Atlanta. Learned a lot, man, because I had to be removed from that daycare because there was a lot of things going on that were not above board. Some of the kids weren't treated right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Don't even have most of the details, man. I just know it was time to go, right? And I was blessed with a very diverse family because I have family members that practice Islam, and I grew up in the church. Okay. So I went to Sister Claire Muhammad private school in East Atlanta, off Fayetteville Road in East Atlanta. So I was in the masjid during the week, and I was in the church on the weekends. A lot of people don't know that about me, right? And one of the beautiful things about that is diversity started in a place with me that had nothing to do with skin tone. It had to do with thought process, belief systems, culture. It had a lot to do with a lot of things. So when people look at me and say, "Oh, you teach about diversity," I said, diversity with me ain't got nothing to do with what you look like. It's how you choose to live, and it's about how you choose to respond when you have no choice. You know what I mean? So you either got choices or you got responses. You got something, right? So I grew up at Sister Claire Muhammad School, learning Arabic, different languages. Man, I was reading on a collegiate level in third grade.
Wow, that's awesome.
And honestly, man, it was so normal. I didn't know I was smart. You ever had one of those things where it was just the norm? And so when you go somewhere, if somebody trying to compliment you or either downgrade you, you don't know how to take it because you were just so used to the curriculum.
Right.
I'm talking about we were.
You figured it's the norm.
Bro, we were doing plays and doing projects on Malcolm X and Marcus Garvey, I mean, I'm talking about heavy hitters, man. Elijah Muhammad. We was in there. We were doing it, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, after and a lot of my family was at Sister Claire Muhammad School, I ended up going to Green Forest Christian Academy again because my mom she believed in, hey, you need to learn everything. You know,
Right.
whatever we can give you, we let you learn it. And that's when my parents were together at the time. Notice those are two private schools. Green Forest Christian Academy was on Rainbow Drive in Decatur, right? Went there for quite a while, and again, something happened at that school that really kind of pointed me into education because I was physically assaulted by a teacher. What a lot of people don't know about me, man, all the way up from daycare all the way up to high school, there was some type of physical assault that took place on school grounds at every school that I was at. Every school that I was at. But one of the beautiful things about it is you still see me in front of you. So it didn't kill me, but it did let me know what was going on. So it got to the point where the term victim wasn't good enough. I look at the term witness. I witnessed a lot. I had to feel a lot, but I had to witness a lot too. And what a lot of people don't know is I experienced a lot of pain by looking at other people suffer. A lot of people don't know that. There's a reason for witness protection programs because witnesses got to live with that forever.
That's right.
Whether the victim might have passed on or not, or may not have a memory of it, that witness has to relive it over and over again. You know what I mean?
That is right.
And yeah, so it's not a pity party thing. It's just a reality party for real. I witnessed a lot.
So that situations like that, I mean, it could be a learning experience, but it could also very well be traumatizing. So I'm glad to see you stronger.
Man, look, it's a lot. By the time we get finished with this episode, man, we're gonna really, I'm gonna tell you everything. You know what I mean? It's nothing to hide. It's nothing to hide, man. So I would say my background comes from very diverse backgrounds when it comes down to education, religion and culture, even languages, man. I had to learn Spanish here and there. It wasn't that fluent, but I really knew Arabic, man. I really did know it to the point where I could write it, talk it, and sing it. Seriously, I can't do it now because I've been out of. Oh man, for real.
This is the first. Right? You know, my little Spanish or whatever, but this man, listen, you the first person who ever told me that they can sing Arabic. So are those mostly hymns or?
And trust me, I'm not an authority figure on it, but I remember we used to have to sing a prayer every day.
Wow.
Yeah, we used to have to sing a prayer every day, and it was some of the best music I've ever heard. Just like we had to sing the Lord's Prayer in church. It was all about harmonizing, you know, communicating. It was one of those intentional things, if that make any sense, right? So just moving forward a little bit, and my parents ended up getting a divorce when I hit middle school, right? Right after I left Green Forest Christian Academy, I went straight to Chapel Hill Junior High because, you know, when parents split up, you know, the finances get a little different. Yeah. So there was no more private school, so I went straight to public school at Chapel Hill Junior High in Decatur, right? Stayed there for quite a while, met some of the people that are still in my life to this day. So middle school is a very, very peculiar yet powerful stage in a lot of people's lives, man.
Very formative.
Middle school, yeah, exactly. A lot of people don't know this about middle school. Your middle school is where a lot of people meet their friends for life and their enemies for life.
True.
Really true. They meet their friends for life. Oh yeah, you meet your friends for life, or you meet your enemies for life. And it's not just a person, but it's certain personalities that you know you can kind of bond with, and there's certain personalities you know it's some type of people you can't be around ever again.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly right.
And middle school is honestly, I would like to call it the danger room or basically the research room. That's when kids are trying to figure out not only who they are, but they're figuring out who they're not. That's what a lot of people don't understand about middle school. They're trying to figure out, I don't want to be like that person. I definitely don't want to be like that person. Right. I don't even want to be around them at all because a lot of us think it's peer pressure trying to fit in. Some people don't want to fit. They don't want to try on them clothes at all.
At all.
At all.
And I can recall in my life too, man. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And I'm pretty sure the people in the audience do too.
Yeah. So just to wrap things up, end up going to Chapel Hill Junior High, end up going to Cedar Grove High School on the east side, man, in Ellenwood.
Okay.
And I will tell you, Oh man, Illinois University right now, man, they can't stop winning, man. I love them. And before the championships, there were a lot of victories at Cedar Grove too. A lot of people don't know this. It was full of a lot of people who had a lot of challenging lives, but a lot of people came together. A lot of people are really close at Cedar Grove. A lot of people may not know that because it's one of those things where Cedar Grove was not on the bus line back in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s.
Oh, really?
So it wasn't on the bus line. So guess what? You had to know somebody to get off campus.
Right.
So it was one of the biggest things that made us have to communicate very well. Because if you didn't know somebody, man, life was going to be very different. I wouldn't say hard, but it was going to be harder than it was supposed to. Does that make sense? So that means if you were a freshman, that means you had to talk to somebody with a car. They had to know you didn't. They had to know about you at least enough to know you don't steal. So so you can be in their car, right? So it was a lot of communication skills that a lot of us had to develop because a lot of us didn't have a car and we had to get around a lot of different places. And the closest bus stop was up there on Boulder Crest, man, maybe like a couple of miles away.
Yeah, that's a long way from Cedar Grove.
Especially if you're an overweight child with a tenor saxophone strapped to your back. I ain't wasn't finna go. You know what I mean? But I will tell you this, man. Going to Cedar Grove was one of the biggest blessings. A lot of pain, a lot of purpose, a lot of vision, a lot of help. A lot of help. My class, I graduated class in '99. We're basically like family members, man, and we're really close to other classes too. But just being honest with you, at Cedar Grove, man, we saw a lot of painful events, man. A lot of painful events that a lot of people got shook from, but a lot of people got shaped from too. A lot of people found their superpower at Cedar Grove. There's a lot of people who went to Cedar Grove, man, who are really taking this life head on without any fear, man. And it's because we saw a lot of stuff that some of us weren't supposed to see, but it wasn't supposed to kill us either, right? It wasn't supposed to kill us. It was supposed to make us decide who we were going to be. It was a forced decision. You know what I mean?
That's that for control type thing.
Oh yeah. So ended up going to Georgia Southern, man. Came down here to school right after high school. Yeah, man. So Georgia Southern University was people have every right to say what they want to say about Georgia Southern, especially if you came here. Like Georgia Southern is an experience where you have to believe what people say, no matter what they say.
Right.
Because they probably seen something that everybody else around them didn't even notice.
Exactly.
You feel me?
Exactly. Yeah.
So you just got to take it for what it is. If they say something totally different from what you told them, hey man, I respect it. I didn't see it, but I'm pretty sure you ain't making it up just to entertain.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? Right. So end up going to Georgia Southern, man. What a lot of people may not know about me, I was supposed to go to Southern University. I literally got accepted to Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Really?
I was going to go down there man. I was going to go to HBCU. So a lot of people were like, man, HBCUs. I said, look, bro, I was going to an HBCU. Just couldn't afford it. And I had career-ending knee surgery because I had a football injury that it didn't really pop up until around graduation time. And I couldn't even try out for no scholarship. And I found out I went to get some surgery. And the surgery was not successful. It actually went bad. Oh. So I woke up from the surgery expecting, hey, when can I get on the football field? To a doctor, when my mom was sitting there, she was just rubbing my arm, and I knew something was wrong. And the doctor was like, you're never going to be able to play football ever again in your life.
Wow.
So I didn't know what to do, man. It was very awkward, I would say. One of them clueless things, you didn't know how to respond to it.
Yeah.
Pretty much in shock, just being honest with you, pretty much in shock. And I really just didn't know how to respond. But I will tell you how I did respond later on when it hit me. Had a lot of dog days, man. A lot of quiet days, a lot of dog days, a lot of confusing days. And I was blessed with a mother that had vision for me because she told me this maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. And I didn't even know it because I don't even remember applying to Georgia Southern. This is the funny part. Yeah, I don't even remember applying for it and then I found out why. She admitted to me not too long ago she applied for me. She applied to DeVry. She applied to Methodist College. She was just applying because she knew if I was going to stay there in that state, she knew I needed to be in a different. She knew I needed to be in a different environment immediately. So I have this analogy that I tell a lot of my students. How can you diagnose a plant when it doesn't get any sunlight, right? You can put a plant in the garage all day and say, man, that must be a dumb plant or that plant must be depressed. When in actuality, we put it in the wrong environment where it can't get no exposure. Does that make sense? So I'm just glad my mom was like, I'd rather you get exposure than keeping you in that garage to make me comfortable. Because she could have said, no, you staying.
Yeah, you my baby. You stay at home.
You my baby. And I'm the youngest. You know what I'm saying? Both of my parents had 2 children before they met each other. And then they got together on a very, very cold Thanksgiving evening with no cable and had me. You know?
That's
you know
your
I was born in August. A lot of people don't know this. That's the reason why a lot of birthdays in August, because Thanksgiving have multiple meanings.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
That extra piece of pie, it ain't pecan. so right. Listen, I'm sorry, Mama. You know it's true. But it was just one of those things, man. I was blessed to have somebody that wanted me to grow. She wanted me to go and get up out of here. She dropped me off at Georgia Southern University on the first day of school. I didn't have no sword session, no nothing. I didn't even know what Georgia Southern was.
You didn't get a sword session?
Bruh, the first time I ever knew about Georgia Southern was the first day of school when my mama dropped me off.
Wow.
My mom dropped me off in the middle of the Union on crutches, full of painkillers. And she said, I got you an apartment. And I was like, cool.
Wow.
All right, well, I met somebody else. You're going to have a roommate. Okay, I got your classes. You know, hopefully you like computer science. Mama got to go to work.
Yeah.
So,
be safe.
And this is the beautiful thing, man, because like I told you before, you remember I told you had people at Cedar Grove, you had to really communicate with folks in order to get around. Well, guess what? They didn't have a bus system at Georgia Southern in '99.
Not at all.
And I couldn't walk. So guess what I had to do? I had to go around and talk to people and see who had cars and stuff. And guess what? I had enough people from Cedar Grove that went to Georgia Southern to take me to class.
That's called figuring it out, man.
Full circle. My roommates went to Cedar Grove. I had a lot of friends that went to Cedar Grove. And they were just around making sure that, you know, you were still functional freshman year, man. Right. So I got a lot to be thankful for that. So let me wrap this up because I know we got some things to talk about, man. But after undergraduate, a lot of people don't know this, man. I've been kicked out of every level of academia at Georgia Southern. I got kicked out of school my undergraduate
You mentioned that career. To me one time before.
Oh, yeah. I got kicked out of undergraduate. Huh?
See, tell the people about it.
Oh, man. So what a lot of people don't know is there's a lot of different factors that go on with kids when they first get to school. And a lot of us who are first-generation college students, there's a lot of ins and outs that people may not just put in front of you, right? So my mom, she had a couple of years at Spelman. My dad had a couple of years at Payne, but they both left college to get a career with government jobs. Man, they worked at the post office. That was the reason why they, that was how they fed all of us. And it was a great decision for them, but they didn't know how the ins and outs were going forward, right? So it was all a learning curve for everybody, and they did the best they could. But when I got down to Georgia Southern, man, I was picking majors based off the income. I picked computer science, bro. I remember the day I picked computer science, and the only thing I know is well, if I played PlayStation, it got to make sense some kind of way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But man, I could play PlayStations, but I can't program them at all. You know what I mean? So I got in there and I picked a major that I had no idea about, and it really didn't resonate with me, right? And my mom, she this is the thing that I want people to know. Standardized tests really changed my trajectory in life. Let me tell you what happened. And fairness is a beautiful word, but I always ask people to be very careful of looking for fairness, because if you look for fairness, you'll miss your opportunity. It's hard for both of them to live in the same place, because a lot of people say that ain't fair. I'll be like, I already know it ain't fair. I just need to know what's mine so I can get what's mine, right?
Right.
One of the things that happened when my mom dropped me off at school, that first day, they had college placement exams. And remember, I was on painkillers, couldn't walk, and I was going down the Union one day, down the hallway, and one lady was like, have you took your college placement exam yet? And I was just like, no, I'm already accepted. I took my SAT. She's like, no. There's another test you need to take just to see where you fit in. And I was just like, that sounds like a hustle. And it was.
Yeah.
So when I
Yeah.
walked in, I took a test that I wasn't even prepared for. And they said I needed learning support English and reading. Now think about this. Now I graduated Cedar Grove, passed all my tests. This is that another. Had a 3.67 GPA. I wasn't a dumb kid. You know what I mean? I wasn't the brightest one in the bunch, but I at least knew what was going on, right? So when I took that test, they put me in learning support where a lot of people didn't know, and I didn't know learning support don't count towards graduation. And it don't count towards your institutional GPA. So I'm working hard in these classes, and another class suffered. And I had a GSU class that didn't count for nothing. I had an A, 2 B's, and an F that first semester, and I brought home a 1.0 GPA.
Oh my
1.0 GPA. I had an A, 2 B's, and an F, and that F was in a history class that me and the teacher just couldn't see eye to eye. I really didn't understand what it was asking for. And so I had that 1.0 GPA, and that was the start of that academic probation and academic exclusion. It was just spiraling out of control, man. Yeah. And when you have a number next to your name, kind of like a credit score, you'll start trying to determine your own worth based off a number that comes from somebody who never ever met you. And that's one of the main reasons why I made that Thrival Kit, man, because sometimes we try to live up to other people's opinions of us. And the thing that really changed my life when I got kicked out of Georgia Southern, I went and had maybe like 4 or 5 jobs in a year. I almost lost my life from falling asleep on the interstate. I was throwing papers for AJC in the morning. I was selling ADT security systems. I was working for Doubleday Book Club, and I was doing just odd jobs on the side. But that's when I also started my comedy career too, right? A lot of people may not know this too, but when I got back to Georgia Southern after I served my suspension, I'll give the full back to you. The reason why I wrote this Thrival Kit is when I came back from academic exclusion, from those jobs, and that person didn't even know I fell asleep on the interstate. What she looked at me, she said, I saw your GPA. This after me leaving for 2 years now. She said, look, I saw your GPA. People like you, college is not really for you. I don't want you to see you waste your time. I'm going to start looking up other things for you to do because clearly based off your GPA, college isn't for you. And I just looked at it and I was like, I fell asleep on the highway. I want to learn. I want to learn what other people are learning. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people are making a lot of money with these trades, right? However, if I'm supposed to be doing something else, I can't let a stranger determine that for me based off a number. Now, if she knew me and told me, hey, you might want to do electrician work, then yeah, we can listen. It was just a simple fact that she saw a number on the screen and determined my path in life. And at that moment, I said, I don't know how many people went through this, but I know for a fact a stranger cannot tell you your destiny because she was not in the room when I was being formulated in my mother's womb. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's
I was going to ask you that.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask you that, like, give me that one person other than your parents who really inspired you to keep going on your academic success. Would it have been somebody from Cedar Grove or somebody from the community or a family member who you might have seen reach heights, or was it that particular person?
Honestly, it wasn't a particular person, but I will tell you who changed my life dramatically. A close friend of mine who was everybody's best friend. His name was Jason Hall at Cedar Grove. He passed away in 11th grade. And one of the things that changed a lot of people's lives, well, it was so unexpected how he died and when he died, right? But when he passed away, a lot of us kind of woke up and kind of chose where we were going to be and what we were going to do for the rest of our lives. I can't speak for everyone, but I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of us at school, and he wasn't the only one that passed away. We had a lot of people that passed away. A lot of people who were in unforeseen circumstances. A lot of people who were injured permanently. A lot of people who had cancer. It was so much. We were losing teachers. We were losing so many different folks, man, to the point where you had no choice but to be thankful for life. And whatever you're going to do for the rest of your life, you either going to build people or break them down. You had one or the other.
Gotcha.
You were going to build them up or you were going to break them down. And he was one of the main catalysts because a lot of people didn't know this. he was very, very popular, but he was extremely smart. He was my tutor. He tutored me through a lot of classes that he was a genius. And he passed away when we were in 11th, I think 10th or 11th grade. I forget which grade I believe it was 10th grade when it actually took place. Yeah, he was a 10th grade, he was sophomore. Correct. It was 10th grade when it happened. Yeah, man. But it was a lot of people who were losing family members. It was a lot of people who we were losing teachers. It was a lot going on. So I would say academically, I had a mother that she loved to read. She always wanted to read. She read to me every day. She always asked me how school went, and she made me teach it to her. That's the reason why I named the book "The Best Teacher is Always the Best Student." Because she was like, "No, teach me what you learn." Because she used to always tell me, "You don't know it unless you can teach it, baby." And I was like, that makes sense. If you can't teach it, you don't know it. You can regurgitate something, but that doesn't mean you know it. But unless you can relay the information how people can understand it, then you'll know it, right? My grandmother is a heavy influence on me. She's a 104-year-old right now, and she has a background. Her background is she's like a life professor. When you just sit at her feet, man, and just let her talk, you just sit there. And I tell you this, I called my grandmother one day to complain about what was going on in school, and man, she said one sentence that had me locked in for the rest of my life. And I was telling her about the professors and all of that, and she was just like, "Well, are they making sure you can't go to school for your skin color? Did they sick dogs on you or anything like that? Did they tell you couldn't sit in the lunch counter?" I'm talking about she was just asking me, and she wasn't trying to be funny. When I was describing it to her, she was like, "How bad is it getting?" And just her genuine questions was like, "I'm tripping." That's what I was thinking. I said, she tells me real stuff, and she hit me with that dose of reality, and I went into hyperdrive right after that. That was one of the biggest turning points. So my mother got me into college. My grandmother jolted my mindset. That's why I made a manhood mindset, man, because there was a lot of choices I had to make that was not based off fairness, but it was based off opportunity. Yeah. It was based off opportunity, man, because I was surrounded by people who just never seen fairness a day in their life. Man. So my grandmother, I had 7 uncles, man. After my parents got divorced, me and my dad didn't see each other quite a bit, man, because just real life happens. Some people divorce the spouse and the child. Yeah. And it happened. And it's no shade to him. I have none but respect for my father, but the truth is the truth. And so I was missing that relationship. But guess what, man? I had 7 uncles that were surrounding my house like some vultures. They was coming around, taking me on trips to do work with them, teaching me stuff. But I had a lot of uncles who were nonverbal professors. I hope everybody know what I'm talking about with that. They can talk to you about some stuff, but when they show you how to live and they show you how to respond to situations, man, that's the best sermon I ever had in my life, when I had nonverbal professors. Yeah, that's one thing I learned about. Yeah, one thing I learned about my uncles, man. The way you want somebody to teach you is not always the way you're supposed to be taught. Very true. I will tell you that. As kids, we think everybody's supposed to teach the same, but if we have different learning styles, everybody got different teaching styles. I'm telling you this, one thing I found out about manhood is really taught in a lot of silence. A lot of people don't know that, and I didn't get that growing up. I just thought they were supposed to. And think about this, man. There was a lot of men around who didn't do that much talking, but they were talking their heads off, but they weren't moving their mouth at all. Right. That's an example. I was just like, man, it's exactly. So what happens is, one thing I found out, especially when it comes down to manhood mindset, man, I tell people and tell my kids all the time, I say, yeah, people can yell and scream at you, but I don't have to. I already know, because I have an assignment and I have a teaching style that I learned from other men, that I don't have to yell at you just because that's all you understand. Sometimes I can just be in the room, because I will tell you this, you can prophesy with your presence. I hope some people can hear me when I say this. Sometimes your presence is a prophecy. You just walking in a room, not scared, not docile, you confident, you know what you're talking about. And even when people try to rattle you, you ain't rattled at all. And them young boys looking at you like, yeah, this is a real brother right here, chin up, chest out. And I don't have to yell at them too, because remember, the only person that can appraise you is the person you choose to praise, right?
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand. There's a lot of idol worship in the academic world. There's a whole bunch of pedestal pushing, status worship, all of this stuff. And I tell them all the time, my degree is just a receipt that shows I'm in student loan debt.
That's good.
And just letting you know, my degree is just a receipt to let you know I'm in student loan debt. Do not put my degree over my behavior.
Gotcha.
And I always tell them that. I say, yeah, you can call me Dr. Pugh, but if I don't act like it, you ain't got to call it to me. You ain't got to call me that at all. So how people treat you lets you know their degree of humanity. The only degree that really matters to me is your degree of humanity you show to other human beings.
That's awesome.
Because you can be a decorated fool, and I see that all the time.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Man.
Yeah,
that's
man.
good stuff, man. So
we
basically,
put ornaments on trees all the time.
Basically, what you're telling me is this book, The Thrival Kit, is an autobiography.
I would love for it to be an autobiography. I would say it will be what is it called when somebody is typing down just the thoughts that's coming out of your the word is journal, but somebody is who is that person in the court system that's typing down everyone? Huh?
Stenographer.
There you go.
Yeah.
So the only thing I did was one day I was like, what do I need to say? What do I need to think? Because this book took too long to come out because I had too many thoughts. You understand what I'm saying? I was trying to solve all problems. I was trying to make it right. And there's no such thing as making it
let it flow.
Right.
Yeah.
And some were just like, boy, if you don't write your thought and release this thing, we're gonna have a problem. I don't know if it was ancestors, God, two of them other Bible characters that I'm not too familiar with. It was somebody that was like, hey, release the book, homie.
Yeah.
Release the book. And sometimes the best way to teach someone is to do it, not try to teach it. It's just to live it. And honestly, Thrival Kit has a lot to do with me getting out of my own way. You know what I mean? It got to the point where instead of making it to the next day, choose to create the next day. Instead of just making it to it, create your own days. And and I'm telling you, man, like the people that I had to read it before I published it, they're near and dear to my heart, man. They're diverse people, and they're not people pleasers at all. And to the point, man, I didn't even know if it was good or not. You know what I mean? So I said, let me let people read it. Let me tell what they do. Some people couldn't make it past the first chapter. We're like, when is this coming out?
Yeah, it is most definitely good, man. I want to get into it, man, because I want to hear your part on some of the things that I read. So I got chapter 1.
Go ahead.
And this is good. When you produce light, expect shade. Come on, give it to him, Doc. Give it to him.
Man, look. All right, here we go. I know we constantly talk about who's talking about us, who's hating, and all this other stuff. I will put like this, man. Hate ain't got nothing on insecurity.
At all.
Hate ain't got nothing on insecurity. And insecure people don't have to hate you to hurt you. That's the reason why when we concentrate on a lot of people, we concentrate on haters too much to the point where haters ain't the enemy.
Right.
Because if you have a hater that's secure, they know that they don't have to do certain things just because they have an emotion behind you, right?
Right.
But if you got somebody who's insecure, they're going to try to douse that light out because just you being in a room is too much.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
And a lot of people go through this because sometimes we call it haters because we take it personal. Sometimes insecurity ain't personal. It's spiritual.
Right.
It is spiritual. The first human being documented that fell off insecurity, concentrating on what they didn't have. And sometimes when you walk into a room, you represent what other people don't have. And it ain't personal.
Right.
It is spiritual. It's
That's
spiritual.
Right.
And the reason why people are like, man, that person acting shady, I said the only way they can act shady because you don't even know what light you just brought into the room. It's the law of cause and effect, man. I'm telling you, because then you won't be so hell bent on trying to make sure that they're a friend or they stop hating. It ain't hate. And sometimes insecurity is between them and the God they choosing to serve at the moment.
Right.
That's what a lot of people don't understand. If you worshiping an idol, insecurity is mandatory. If your God don't move, if your God don't do nothing, you have no choice but to be insecure. And a lot of us have had cycles of worshiping false idols our entire life. You know what I mean? It's easy. Honestly, we're in a world, we're in a society, and we're in a country that literally coaches and programs you to worship things that don't do anything for you. So we have to practice. We literally have to keep practicing searching for God, man, or trying to find who was with you inside your mother's womb, who created that system to stitch your body together and then insert your soul and your spirit into your body and have it aligned with your brain and your mind to operate at the same time. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and honestly, sometimes when we start thinking about how to impress other people, we start putting them in positions that they can't even hold themselves.
Right.
They're not with you. They were not with you in your mother's womb. They didn't stitch your whole body together. They didn't even allow your soul to come from another place, man. And I'm telling you, when you start getting in alignment with your assignment, expect the shade. Because every time we go out there to the picnic, and every time when the sun is out, it'd be a beautiful day. But when it get too hot, what do we look for?
Shade. You exactly right. You exactly right.
So we appreciate the light. But guess what? The same light we love and party with, it also makes us uncomfortable.
Yeah, when it get too bright.
Exactly. That shade is attractive, and we do it for comfort. Insecurity is uncomfortable. People will do things for you for the sake of comfort and convenience and commerce.
That is awesome. That's another chapter right there. Let me ask you this. I want to piggyback on that answer. So, being that you just feel like it's a recorded thoughts that you have, were you focused on getting people to know your thoughts and feelings and the way you came up, or are you in your teacher mode and wanting to preach this to the young people? Because that's dedication. But I want the people who don't have a copy yet, I want them to understand.
Man, I'm gonna be so clear with you. It was about me being obedient to the moment.
Okay.
Because if I tried to pick a theme, I would not have wrote the book.
Gotcha.
Just being transparent. Because what took me the most time was me trying to put a label on it, where I was supposed to be obedient, not perfect.
Gotcha.
I was trying to make it something, and I just kept getting roadblocks where I was just supposed to be like, didn't I tell you to write the book?
Yeah, you was trying to dress it up.
But guess what happens? I was looking for a false idol's approval.
And we definitely
When I was writing it, the first thing I kept saying was, well, who gonna buy it? That wasn't the case. It's who told you to write it.
Right.
Well, who gonna like it? Didn't matter. That was another false idol I kept creating. I'm telling you, idol worship is something that we're good at because we're programmed to do so. I don't know what it is, and I ain't exempt, bro. The Thrival Kit was what I had to use in order to get out my idol worship.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. That is good stuff. That brings me to another chapter, chapter 4, elevators and highways. Give me and the people who tuned in, give us your definition of that.
Sometimes staying in your own lane sounds good until that traffic hits. And when that traffic hits, people start second guessing whether it was the right route to take. When in actuality, the traffic hit is because you were supposed to elevate into a helicopter, airplane, or you were supposed to ascend above what you were seeing. That's the difference between elevators and highways.
That's it. That is it. That'll fly over a lot of people's head if they don't get this book and for themselves, man. This packed.
I appreciate the question. I appreciate this question, man. I appreciate that question because
we got amen in the chat and tell them. So we got some people who and these real men who understand, what's going on.
Sure.
So this is another good one. This was another good chapter for me.
Yes, sir.
Problems are your business.
Ha.
We went with that.
Hey, man.
let them have it. And keep it real. lie to them. Don't lie to them.
Man, I'm gonna be as clear as I can. Some of the things that we went through are so devastating, and we don't understand that they have purpose in the problem, right?
Yeah.
When I tell people your problems are your business, I wasn't telling people to hold your problems in. I was
Exactly.
saying you were allowed to experience some specific problem that no one knows how to deal with but you.
That's right.
And so, and being real with you, that chapter has a lot to do with my career right now. I was blessed to be around a lot of people who did not know how to communicate. So guess what happens? I was around a lot of people who were yelling and saying the same thing, but they weren't hearing each other. And a lot of people don't know this about me, Brother Moore. I was my parents' marriage counselor at the age of 9.
Oh man, that's big.
So I was grateful to have parents who had a specific issue that forced me to grow into the person you see right now. My degree was a result of my mom saying, well, you're going to be alive when you're 40. Do you want to have a doctorate or not? Do you want to have a master's or not? You're still going to be alive, right? Do you want to be a 35-year-old man with a master's or a 35-year-old man without one? And I was like, that's a lot of peer pressure, Mom. She's like, ain't your peer, baby. She said, I ain't your peer, go to school. I said, yes, right. I got you. I got you. I got you. But I was blessed to be, and that was just the tip of the iceberg, because my parents are really my teachers. Because some people put you in a position where you have to grow and find out who you are. And my parents had the perfect position because they loved each other. But all of us need to be very transparent. A lot of us have taught how to talk, but less than 5% of the human population has been told how to effectively communicate. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So a lot of people, I mean, we have a major communication. Hell, I'm a mediator by trade. I go around and try to do a lot of de-escalation techniques with teachers in the classroom. And you got a lot of people screaming at the top of their lungs because a lot of people don't understand. Before you had verbal language, there was body language, tone of voice, facial expression. And I found out that everything that comes out of our mouth is affected by how our faces are shaped when we're talking. The tone of voice. Think about this. How many people stop wanting to talk to each other because they ain't like the tone? So I understand people are being sensitive or whatnot, but it's the truth. If the tone is off, put like this. Have y'all ever been to church and somebody was singing off key?
Yeah. You ball your face right on up.
You don't even know what song they singing after a while, right? You're like, is that Rock of Ages or Jesus I Love You? What did they sing? It's so off. Like, you understand what I'm saying? So it gets to that point where I found out that communication is a customer service tool. I was also a person, when I got kicked out of Georgia Southern, I had over 10 years of customer service experience because I was working at call centers. That's what a lot of people don't get, because I already know what makes people mad, and I'm already used to getting cussed out by people who don't know me.
Yeah, so it couldn't hurt from that.
It couldn't hurt. So when people are angry and upset, I already knew not to take it personal because I was in customer service. And the only way for a lot of us know how to not take things personal is if we're already in service. But a lot of us have never been in a position where we can serve. We're always trying to get the service for us. We were trying to have our ego stroke. We were trying to always making sure somebody talked to us right, but we didn't even really practice on how to talk to other people in the most correct way.
That's awesome.
Right? So when people call, honestly, when I was at the call center, people would cuss me out. And the first thing I know is, I said, ma'am, what did I personally do to you? I said, I hear you. And I said, I know you're upset. I'm pretty sure you have every right to be upset, but I'm the person that's going to get you to the person that really did it. Then guess what happened? They calmed down. You know, people say, man, I'm going to match that energy. Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't understand is fighting fire with fire will burn the house down.
Right. You're exactly right. Let me find out Dr. Pugh was a psychologist too.
It's funny that you say that, man, because I'm getting my therapist license.
Are you serious? Man, we on the right
now.
No lie. That's good stuff, man. Good,
I have to, because guess what I found out? I'm a coach, but a lot of people need to use their insurance in order to get the help. And a lot of people don't have the cash because a lot of people are strapped after COVID. Because I was coaching before COVID, but a lot of people don't have the cash to really just keep doing that, right? So I was like, well, how am I keep serving the people without starving my family? I need to be licensed so I can take insurance.
Now that's big. That's big because that's on the cusp of me getting to this next chapter 8. Help those
Yes,
with
sir.
hearts, serve those with souls, and that's service versus space.
Man, I will tell you this: the best thing that ever happened to me was when I admitted and I realized and I honored the fact that everybody ain't assigned to me.
Got you.
Everybody's not assigned to me. If you're in this world, and a lot of good-hearted people love to burn out and call it purpose, when it's actually ego going overboard.
Oh wow! Now that's big.
That's what it is. A lot of good-hearted, big-hearted people, they overexert themselves out of safety because a lot of people do it just so they won't get bothered anymore. Do you know how many people who've been bullied and verbally harassed their entire life that they put on this good person persona just for safety only?
Oh, makes sense. I can understand that.
Right. And so guess how many good-hearted people don't even allow themselves room in their own hearts. So you got a lot of people who practice self-neglect and get applauded for it every day.
Yeah. That's
why do you think doctors and nurses have the worst health problems?
You're exactly right. I say that all the time. They're the worst patients.
The biggest hearted people have the largest amount of self-neglect. A lot of my teachers, caretakers, nurses, and doctors, people who serve the most, get applauded for dying slowly in front of us. And they're doing it just so they can be accepted. And acceptance is a very dangerous drug. Acceptance is the most socially acceptable form of suicide.
That's critical. That is critical, man. Yeah, this thing, man, this thing is deep, it's powerful. And I'm telling you, it hit me. I had started it. I said, yeah, let's see what Chris talking about. But then it kind of put me in a zone. Like I had to shake off and catch my breath and start reading it again. Like, okay, so we going really like from the beginning to the end, skimming through, and it's addictive. And I saw myself in it, different situations I've seen and went through. Man, I'm telling you, it is big. I'm glad that you took the time to put these words down on paper, and I'm hoping that we can be influential in getting some, especially the young guys, because that's what you mostly focus on, to get them to tune in. And I know they have involved in your classes and stuff like that, and you just moving around. Man, you are very inspirational. Very inspirational.
You are too, man. I appreciate that.
I want to pick up one more before we start putting it down, man. This one is AAA or AAA. Acknowledgement, accountability. Why are you smiling? You know what it is. Acknowledgement, accountability, and actions.
Hey, then I always tell people denial is a stage of grief. The reason why a lot of us are in denial, man, is because parts of us have died off and we don't want to have a funeral.
Right. You exactly
because it'll make it too real.
Yeah.
Relationships have died off. Thought processes have died off. Certain parts of our culture are dying. A lot of people don't want to talk about it. We have to acknowledge what we're looking at. We don't have just acknowledgement is not the same thing as judgment.
Yeah.
I always tell people, man, an observation is not a judgment. And when you point something out, people will throw out, "Hey, man, you're judging." And we're like, no. I'm not judging you, but I'm not finna pretend like I'm not looking at you.
Right.
Because denial is a stage of grief.
Right.
And what a lot of people don't understand is when we're just acting like this stuff ain't happening, parts of us are dying. That's what a lot of people don't understand. When we see our music deteriorating and we're acting like it's not deteriorating, parts of us are dying. Because denial is a stage of grief.
Wow.
When we look at our school systems, we know what they're trying to do to our history. And we're like, no, it ain't that bad. Denial is a stage of grief.
Yeah, it was bad.
I got you. When a lot of us have gone into relationships and brought children in the world with our enemies, a lot of people don't want to acknowledge that because denial is a stage of grief. A lot of people do know that how we share our bodies with other people determines how we think about ourselves. That's what a lot of people don't want to at least acknowledge.
That is deep.
It's all self-esteem. because a lot of us are still looking for acceptance through risky behavior. And this ain't a judgment, this is observation. This is why I want to tell everybody a lot. Share your observations, because they're going to say you shouldn't judge just to shut you up. That's the shade coming for the light again. I'm telling you. As soon as you say, hey, it looks like you have a pattern of dating certain people that really don't like you. You shouldn't judge. Then you did X, Y, and Z. I didn't say I was better than you. I'm just telling you, I'm seeing what I'm looking at.
Right.
And what we're dealing with now, that chapter has a lot to do with some couples I had to give some therapy for, because a lot of people don't know, in order for me to effectively help children, I got to talk to the parents first, because that's the people that brought me.
Right.
And guess what I'm doing now? Before I talk to the children, the parents have to let me know why and how the child was conceived.
Got you.
They got to let me know how they were conceived. Now, I'm going to tell you why. How the child was conceived and why the child was conceived will affect how that child is raised. Because if that person was just having fun and they didn't want to procreate and they didn't want to start a family, that child is going to be treated based on that lack of priority.
That's deep. That's good stuff,
Yes,
man.
sir.
That is good stuff. That is good stuff. We gonna wind this down a little bit, but I do want to make sure that you get your information out there where people can reach you. And then after that, we'll try to give you a few seconds of last thoughts so you can drive this point home, so we can come out and go get this book. Give us your social.
My full name is Dr. Marion Christopher Pugh. On Facebook, it's Christopher Pugh. I think it's facebook.com/MCPUGH. You can look me up on YouTube under M. Christopher Pugh on the Manhood Mindset. On Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram is at Manhood Mindset, one word. My website is manhoodmindset.com. And the book that we're discussing tonight, my first published book, is called Thrival Kit. The best teacher is always the best student. I do have a dissertation that I'm going to turn into a book. My dissertation is called Humanity in the Black, exploring counter-racist logic with comedy and hip-hop. Comedy and hip-hop is two of the genres that helped me gain my humanity in places where my humanity was too much.
All right.
That make any sense?
So
a lot of man. So as a larger person, remember I told you about body language. So when you're a bigger person, your body says things that you're not even aware of.
Right.
So I had to develop a sense of humor. I had to communicate effectively, because people already drew assumptions about what I was going to do based on how I looked.
Right.
And that's go for all races. People that look like me was drawing conclusions. People who don't look like me draw conclusions.
Yeah.
Both genders too.
It's so awkward. It's so awkward. And I hate to use the word profiling, but that's what it is. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's comfort. It's comfort through categorization.
Right.
All of us go to the grocery store because we feel comfortable knowing that something is on certain aisles, right? And so when people see other people, whatever they've been told about them, they want to do that self-fulfilling prophecy, because self-fulfilling prophecy keeps you from having to do the work of getting to know the person. So it's all about convenience and categorization.
Right. That's awesome, man. That's good stuff. I wish we had more time, man. We can do this all day. You know how I appreciate you. Thank you for joining us, man. I wish you the best in everything. The book sales, life, the degrees, the lanes that you take in, man. I wish you the best, man. We're gonna be praying your strength, man. You coming through. We're gonna be in touch, and I'm definitely gonna be looking forward to the next book.
I have to, and I want to give a moment to honor you and your first lady are doing, man. Just the fact that y'all reached out to say, hey, we want to do this. I'm gonna say this on record. I speak nothing but positivity in life and productivity and abundance over both of y'all lives, man.
Thank you so much.
Straight up.
And
because y'all some genuine folks, man. For y'all to reach out and try to do stuff for people when you really don't have to, man, you got doors open into buildings ain't even built yet, but they're gonna be built. I promise you that.
I receive it.
Oh yeah.
I receive it. Well, again, we're gonna wrap this up, and I want to also take this last word and encourage everybody to go out and get this book. It's available on all platforms, especially at morebooks.com. The link is www.morebooksllc.com. You can pick up Thrival Kit. The best teacher is always the best student, and that title is personal. Thank you, Dr. Pugh, for joining us tonight. Everyone, thank you for tuning in, and y'all have a good evening.
Shout out to everybody that came in, man. I see a couple of classmates in there too. Tiny, what's going on? Everybody, family, friends, all of that. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Love and life to everyone.
Good night.
Thank you, brother. Yes, sir.